welcome to the Amazon Global Selling webinar. My name is Cesar Vence. I'm the Deputy Director for the City of Atlanta Mayor's Office of International Affairs. Before we get started, I'd like to go over a few housekeeping items just to make sure that we're all on the same page here. All of the participants are muted, but there is a chat and a question feature that you are able to use throughout the webinar. We do encourage you to use that feature to communicate with us. Please send your questions via the question feature. We will also have time for Q&A and conversation at the end of the panel. We will be doing a few polls throughout the webinar to make sure that everybody is awake and paying attention. So please do participate. And just before we get started, I'd like to kind of go ahead and start with the first poll of the day. So let's just go ahead and see how people feel. Everybody wants to read minds. All right, we're gonna close this poll. Thank you for your feedback. I'll make sure to share the details with you later. I'm over here really enjoying these answers. It gives me a good insights into who you are and what you're thinking. You will also be receiving a post-survey event after the webinar ends. Your feedback is really important to us, so please do take a couple of minutes to complete it. And lastly, this session will be recorded and we will make it available to you along with the material that will be discussed. For those of you that participated in the last month's digital marketplace webinar, today's webinar is a continuation of that conversation with a focus on Amazon's global platform. Those of you that participated last month, you had the opportunity to listen to Nader, and kind of get a very quick overview of Amazon's features. So before we get started, I will be remiss if I don't share a little bit about the Office of International Affairs and what we do for those that are new to our office and new to these events. The mission of the Office of International Affairs is to develop and foster relationships with Atlanta's international community, position Atlanta globally, and support our Atlanta-based businesses that want to enter the global market. Today's session is part of our Global Commerce Initiative, more specifically our trade promotion efforts. Under this trade promotion initiative, we have 4 programs: the Global Trade Talks, which include today's webinar, Meeting Our Exporter, which is an effort to introduce students into the world of international trade, export mentorship, and then trade missions, which as you can imagine, of course, is on hold at the moment, given the current situation. Really, the reason we do this is to support our local businesses and to ensure that our businesses are equipped with the necessary tools to be competitive in this ever-growing global economy. Lastly, I also want to give a big shout out to our partners. The International Trade Network here in Metro Atlanta region is robust, and it includes many organizations, including the Georgia Department of Economic Development, the Metro Atlanta Chamber, the Small Business Development Center, the U.S. Commercial Service, the EXIM Bank, the World Trade Center, just to name a few. So even though we are hosting this webinar today, just know that behind us, behind this office, there is a really big, robust network of international trade partners and individuals that are here to help you succeed. I would like to go ahead and take this opportunity to introduce today's panel. Lois Rauter is the Senior Business Development Manager with Amazon Business. She will kick things off with a conversation, a very quick overview of Amazon Business. And then Nader Modesat, who is the Product Marketing Manager with Amazon, and we'll discuss how to sell internationally using Amazon's global platform. Louis and Nader, thank you again for joining us today. With that being said, I'll go ahead and hand it over to you. Louis?
Definitely, thank you. So let me know if you can see my screen. Can you see that?
Yes, we can see that.
Okay, perfect. So thank you very much for the introduction and the opportunity to talk to everyone today. And like you said, I look forward to the day that we can all meet in person and really get back into the swing of things. So appreciate everyone's time today. So as you said, I'm going to take us through just a couple slides that give an overview of Amazon Business. And specifically, I'll talk a little bit about the buy side and the sales side, so you have a general understanding of what this is. So Amazon has been serving our community for about the last 20 years from an online sales perspective. And about 5 years ago, we introduced Amazon Business, which is really everything that you love about Amazon, but for work. So 5 years ago, when we introduced this, we saw that our customers were obviously purchasing supplies and taking them to work. So we thought it was a great opportunity to really invest in that area and to understand what products and services they needed so we could provide them with those. So what we did is we took our consumer offer and we thought about what additions we needed to make it a relevant business solution. So we added things where we weren't necessarily very strong. We added products for maintenance, repair, and operations. We added lab and scientific, and then we added healthcare products. So we could really start to offer our business customers what they were looking for. And in addition to that, we created a platform where we have relevant business pricing, which is different than what we offer to consumers. So businesses are actually able to come onto this platform, see products that are priced differently for them, where they can see quantity discounts and other offers that are available just to the business buyers. We offer additional shipping options for them, so they can have palletized shipping, bulk shipping, and a number of different options that we'll talk further about. And then we also offer other business solutions, including extended payment terms, invoicing, and things that, again, were not part of what we were offering for our consumers. And then lastly, we took our customer service and we actually segmented it so that we could offer business buyers specific customer service that was dedicated just to those business buyers. So that's really what Amazon Business is all about, is being able to provide our business customers with the products that they're looking for, the price and the selection that they're looking for as well. In addition to that, I wanted to talk a little bit about becoming a seller. So selling on Amazon Business it's very easy. You can register at sell.amazon.com. That's where you register for your account. That's where you set up your products, you set up your pricing strategy. Basically, you set your business up on sell.amazon.com. One of the really great features of this is that if you're a seller on Amazon, we basically we remit payment to you every 14 days. We also handle all of the credit card transaction fees. So as a small business, we know that your money is very valuable, and we want to help you to extend that and extend your reach by selling on our marketplace. In terms of how to sell, there's really 3 ways to sell to Amazon. So if you start at the top where it's got your products, you can see that there's the orange line, and the orange line is referred to as our retail path or our 1P path. And on that, you're actually selling your products to Amazon. So this is great for manufacturers or brand owners that want to have Amazon take an inventory position. So we take the products, we become the seller of record, and we set the pricing, we do all the shipping, and we manage all aspects of that. And you can see when you're on our detail page, it might say sold and fulfilled by Amazon. And that's how you could tell it was something that is an Amazon specific product. If you look at the blue line, you're also selling through Amazon, but you're selling through Amazon, not to Amazon. So on the blue line, you're actually a third-party seller. And in this case, you're doing all of your own pricing, you do your shipping, and you do your own customer service. And then if you take a look at the yellow line, that's our third-party model as well. And that's where you're selling through Amazon, but you're utilizing our fulfillment by Amazon, which I think Nader is going to talk more in detail about. But in this scenario, you are the owner of record, but you're utilizing our fulfillment network. So your products are in one of our fulfillment centers. In this case, Amazon does the pick, packing, and shipping, and does the customer service, but you still control your own price. So it's those three ways that you can sell through or to Amazon to get to our customers. And the value of doing this is that we have over 300 million active customers that are buying online that you now have access to. One of the really interesting points of data that just recently came out in our Small Business Impact Report talks about the value of doing fulfillment by Amazon in particular. It noted that sellers that took advantage of that last year saw their sales increase by 34%. And this was even with COVID. We also know that our small businesses account for over 50% of the revenue that Amazon receives. And those same sellers are selling over 6,500 items per minute on Amazon. So it's a great opportunity, a great way for you to augment your business strategy by moving to an online storefront. And I just wanted to share those few slides and little information just to set up the presentation today. Obviously, there's a lot more to it that I'd be happy to talk through at another time, but that's really what I wanted to share with the team today.
Thank you, Louis. This is really helpful, and you're right. This is a great segue into our next session. But before we do that, I do want to very quickly share with you the results of the first poll. I don't know if you can see these, but 64% of the participants voted. And of course, it seems like everybody wants to be a mind reader. Well, not everybody, 39% of them want to be mind readers. So that tells you a lot about where we are today. Next, before we go into the next, into Nader's presentation, I do want to just quickly ask and kind of find out how many exporters we have in the webinar today. So we'll go ahead, and if you can participate, this will be great. Leave this up for about 30 seconds. All right. Now I'll share the results of this one shortly. And then next, I would like to know how many of the participants are actually selling their products on Amazon currently. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and close this, and then I'll share the results with all of you. You can see 60% voted, 92% said they're currently not selling on Amazon, 8% said yes. So I think this is why we're here today. We want to make sure that you do have access to this platform, that you know how this works, and then Nader we'll talk about it. Nader, I hand it over to you.
Great, thank you. Awesome. I think Lois did a great job of kind of explaining how sellers interact with Amazon and the three different main channels you can go. One being a vendor for Amazon, two, fulfilling your own kind of shipments through Amazon, and then lastly, utilizing Amazon's fulfillment services. It was really good for me to see that poll showing that 92% of you, or of the ones that did submit an answer, have not sold on Amazon yet. So in my opinion, I will kind of change my pitch a little bit, knowing that most people aren't currently already selling on Amazon. Basically, the first step you'll want to take is to start selling domestically. And again, that was kind of what Lois showed. You would either sign up to be a vendor or a 3P seller, where you would list your products on the site and then either fulfill on your own. So orders come in, you ship out of your own warehouse and provide customers with a tracking number, and you provide your own customer service. Or you can pay an additional fee to Amazon for them to handle, like Lois mentioned, all the picking, packing, shipping, and customer service. Typically, the numbers I'm going to provide you with are fairly rough, but just to sell on Amazon, where you would list your product and then fulfill your own shipment orders and providing your own customer service, it's typically around 15%. So whatever your total income would be on a product sale, you give up 15% to Amazon. Now, if you wanted to utilize Fulfilled by Amazon, you'd probably tack on an additional 10 to 15% to that. So you would look to relinquish 25 to 30% of your total revenue. But when a lot of sellers look at the kind of total cost of doing those services themselves, in a lot of cases, it does prove to be more cost effective by utilizing Amazon's Fulfilled by Amazon service. Now, the domestic opportunity is obviously the greatest. I mean, Amazon was founded in the US, and like Lois mentioned, over 300 million customers, 150 million of them are Prime members. But outside of the US, there is a huge global opportunity that is growing year over year. And a lot of sellers have been able to tap into those marketplaces and really reap success over the last few years. And I really wanted to go over the ways that you can kind of get yourself started on the domestic platform and then gradually expand globally. As you can see on this little map over here, there's just many different regions that we're expanding in and continuing to grow in newer and more exciting regions as well. And so, like I said, over 700 million monthly unique visitors globally, worldwide. It's insane how much it's growing. We're penetrating a lot of marketplaces. Japan and Europe are our two second largest, or second and third largest marketplaces. So a lot of sellers are eager to launch out in those marketplaces first. But we've also expanded in other areas like Australia, which is another English-speaking country. Singapore is one of the newest ones. Turkey, Brazil is another new one. Middle East, North Africa, India. It's just the list continues to grow. So with that being said, the one that gets most sellers excited is the European opportunity. Over 174 million consumers in Europe shop online, and with the surge in e-commerce spend during the COVID era, I would imagine that number's gone up much higher. And actually, it's showing that older generations are more inclined to shop online now, as they've seen it so easy. I mean, if you're an older person, it's much easier for you to just click a couple buttons rather than go out to the store or have someone pay someone to go get your groceries for you or any sort of consumables or essential items that you would need. So it's just become a much more prominent factor in Europe and much more similar to the US now. So Europe comprises of multiple countries, 6 main ones now. On this list, you see 5, but we just recently added the Netherlands. Germany and UK are the 2 biggest marketplaces in Europe, followed by France, Italy, Spain, and now Netherlands. And so the path that most of our domestic sellers take, and like I said, if anyone is interested, feel free to reach out to me after this webinar via LinkedIn, and I can put you in touch with the right people to get you launched either in the US if you haven't started selling in domestically, or even in any of the other marketplaces. I have contacts within every marketplace. So if anyone is genuinely interested, just feel free to reach out. We have a team that's dedicated to launching sellers in Europe, and the path that they lead these sellers down is to first initially launch in the UK. So it would work with the seller to submit all the proper documentation that's required by the UK government and for them to obtain their tax IDs, things like that. And then once all that is set up, basically it's up to the seller to decide whether they want to fulfill orders on their own. And if your warehouses are in the US only and you don't have anything based in Europe, it's pretty costly because based on each order, you're shipping your product across the pond, and it can become very costly and time consuming. And buyers want their products quick. So if they see that your shipment time is 1 week, they might opt to buy the product from a different seller that has a shorter shipping lead time. So with that being said, in a lot of situations, we get the sellers to commit to doing FBA, and that's when the seller will sign up for FBA, and from there they will ship their product to an Amazon fulfillment warehouse based in the UK. And once you've done that, you'll have inventory in the UK, and so you'll become Prime eligible, and a customer that's shopping who sees your product and your product resides in a UK FBA warehouse, they'll be able to purchase your product and receive it within 1 to 2 days as long as it's Prime eligible. And so let's say you're set up in the UK. What then the customer can do next is to use our translation services. So Amazon, if I put you in touch with an account manager, they will go ahead and translate all of your listings for free into the other marketplaces that you see on the screen, including the Netherlands. And then you'll have listings up on 6 different Amazon sites. And from there, you can actually fulfill orders all out of the UK warehouse. So you won't be required to actually physically send inventory into the other countries. Each country has like a tax threshold, and most of them are around 100,000 euro. So until you reach that sales threshold, you won't be required to get like a tax ID for those other countries. So a lot of sellers get their feet wet by just starting in the UK and fulfilling orders into the other 6 marketplaces, and basically reaping the benefits of getting access to all those different user base in those different marketplaces. It's like killing 6 birds with 1 stone. And that's the route most sellers take. And if a seller sees, really good success in their revenue, and they see like halfway through the year, they're going to surpass that 100K threshold, the account manager will be in touch with them, and they will say, hey, okay, look, now is the time we should start applying for a value-added tax ID for each of these countries that we look to be exceeding the revenue threshold. At that point, you'll gradually get the tax IDs for all those different marketplaces, and you'll be compliant in all the countries. And really, I mean, as someone once said, if you're being taxed, it means you're making money. So it's a good thing to be taxed in certain situations, if not all. And another thing I wanted to mention is, let's say you haven't started selling on Amazon yet, and you just start selling domestically. And you're like, okay, I'm just trying to get the hang of it domestically and seeing how it goes on .com. I'm not quite ready to expand globally and reach out to Europe or Southeast Asia or the Middle East. We have a couple different programs, domestic programs, that will allow you to reach global customers without actually physically sending your inventory to a out-of-country warehouse or actually shipping it on your own. One feature is called Fulfilled by Amazon Export. And that's, so let's say you just started selling on Amazon.com. There's a feature that all you have to do is click a button and enable it. Once you enable that feature, Amazon will go ahead and scan your entire catalog that you've uploaded that's listed for sale, and they'll deem whether the products are exportable or not. And you might be surprised, but we have a lot of out-of-country visitors visiting .com. So, the Amazon.com selection is the best across the globe. So a lot of external customers, so a customer in the UK, they might not find what they would like to purchase in the UK site, so they'll come visit .com. And from there, sellers like you who have enabled the FBA export feature, if this customer comes on that product that's eligible to be exported, the UK customer will see that it's purchasable, and they'll be able to purchase your product without you even expanding to the UK or Europe, for that being said. So what happens there is Amazon has your product in their US FBA warehouse, and Amazon will fulfill that order with no additional cost to you. The additional cost will be bared by the customer. So the customer will see, okay, this product's coming from .com. I have to pay an additional $5 to $10, for example, of shipping to get this product. In most cases, they will, because they can't get it anywhere else. And from there, Amazon has plenty of analytics and reports that you can utilize. You can actually go to one of these reports and see where are all your sales coming from. So let's say you just started selling on Amazon.com and you've been selling for 6 months or so. You'll pull the report and say, oh, wow, I actually had this many orders from the UK, and it generated, let's say, $10,000. From there, you can say, okay, well, it actually might make sense for me to launch out in the UK, because then my products already have a lot of demand with the higher shipping costs for the customer. If I expand to the UK, then that would increase my sales tenfold potentially. And so it's a really good insight into seeing how your products will perform in other countries. And UK is not the only country. Customers see their products being purchased domestically from out-of-country customers like Japan, Australia, everywhere. So it's a really great tool to kind of see where you have the most interest for your products, and it'll help you kind of navigate your global expansion. And then the second feature, which is a bit different, it's more towards sellers that do not use Amazon's Fulfilled by Amazon service. So it's you're strictly listing your products on the Amazon.com site, and you fulfill orders on your own. Orders come through, you ship yourself out of the warehouse and provide your own customer service and all that. So Amazon has another program called Merchant Fulfilled Network Export. And so that's a feature where, again, you would just you would sign up for it. It's very easy to sign up. Once you do that, Amazon works with third-party partners to provide you with discounted shipping rates, so exporting rates. So once you have that enabled, you get access to this kind of third-party network, and you can get discounted rates, which makes it easier for you to fulfill international orders. And again, that's at your own discretion. So if you decide you don't want to do that anymore, you would just simply opt out of the feature, and then you will no longer receive orders externally. So the out-of-country customer only see that they can order your product if you have enabled that feature. So again, Amazon has options for you to kind of fulfill out-of-country orders in two ways. One being where Amazon handles it and the shipping cost is passed to the customer. And so the second would be where you handle it. And again, with your additional shipping costs, you would adjust your prices accordingly for out-of-country customers. But for someone that's getting started on .com, I think those are the two best routes to get started. And then once you kind of feel comfortable and you're ready to expand, at that point, you would look to go to the other marketplaces globally. Europe being the most popular and the second largest, but I'll get into the other marketplaces as well. And so with Europe, you're not only selling in UK, Germany, Italy, France, and the Netherlands. There's actually so many other countries. It's really the EU 29 that go and shop on these Europe marketplaces as well. They don't have their own, but customers from Austria, they speak German, and so they visit the German site. A lot of the other countries, they're all mostly English speaking. The majority of their population, English is their second language, so they'll go visit the UK site. And so you're getting much more outreach to the whole of Europe by just launching in a handful of the marketplaces. And it's just a huge opportunity. I can't tell you how many sellers have really augmented their sales, and if not doubled, just by launching out in Europe. And again, utilizing those domestic features that Amazon has, it'll give you really good insight into which countries will seek a lot of demand for your product. And then the next marketplace that a lot of sellers like to launch into is Australia. And Australia, it's a smaller country. It's similar to Canada. It's about 30 million citizens or residents, but the growth they're experiencing is pretty large and substantial. Over 50% growth year over year, and their e-commerce has been growing steadily as well. With COVID this year, I would foresee that number would get closer to the double digits. But it's also an English-speaking country, so the hurdles to kind of get your products listed in Australia are very minimal, and it's actually a very easy launch path. Typically for a seller that wants to launch in Europe, it takes a month to 2 months to kind of get everything ready to launch in terms of getting all your documentation ready, getting the tax IDs ready, things like that. Whereas in Australia, it's more towards like 1 month to 3 weeks or so. So it's a pretty quick launch process, and it's very streamlined and easy, especially with the fact that they speak the English language. So if you wanted kind of a low-hanging fruit, just say, hey, I want to just try a country where I don't have to worry about translations. Australia is a very good opportunity there. Now, our third largest economy is Japan, and Japan is a very e-commerce focused kind of consumer base. They love to shop online, and their population is pretty substantial, 128 million people with 72% of them purchasing things online, which I think would be closer to 80% now. So Japan is another one that a lot of sellers go into, especially if you sell products like electronics, things like that. It's just a really good marketplace. And there's a lot of other items which once you start selling on Amazon, you get insight to what are popular items in each region. And so that's where you can kind of decide whether it makes sense for you to launch into Japan. But it's a very large economy, very e-commerce driven, and customers they love shopping online, and Amazon is a pretty prominent e-commerce platform for Japanese customers. They also have Fulfilled by Amazon, so you can easily just ship your product out to an FBA warehouse in Japan and not have to worry about fulfilling orders out of your own warehouse and letting Amazon take care of it and just seeing your sales grow. And then lastly, I just wanted to talk about a lot of our emerging marketplaces. This year alone, we launched Singapore and Turkey, and last year we launched Middle East, North Africa. And out of the three, Singapore will probably be the lowest friction because, again, that would be an English-speaking country, and so you would not have to do any translations or anything like that. And since they're so new, there's a lot less regulations, a lot less documentation you have to provide. So it's actually quite easy to launch out there. There's no tax IDs required yet. I'm sure in the future, once the sales grow enough, every country's government gets a keen eye and they look for a revenue stream through taxing. But for now, Singapore's been extremely easy. And again, they are another e-commerce driven customer base. So a lot of shopping online done over there. And the thing about the emerging marketplaces is they're not as saturated with competition. So obviously the US is the most competitive landscape when it comes to selling online. You're going to have a lot of sellers selling similar products to you. So the competition is higher. And Europe has become kind of a similar domain. But with our emerging marketplaces, it's kind of like the early bird gets the worm. We've seen a lot of sellers who were eager to launch in these new areas. They quickly became a kind of a staple brand name in these countries. And so it's a good idea. If you see that, let's say you started selling on .com and you get a report, you're saying, wow, I'm seeing a lot of product being sold to Singapore from out-of-country customers. I mean, that would be a huge sign for you to go ahead and start the expansion process to Singapore. The same can be said for the UAE and Brazil and Turkey. They're just new marketplaces with not too many sellers. So if you have a unique product offering that is not, doesn't have much competition, it's a great opportunity to get out there quick and early and reap the benefits of being the first one in that marketplace with your product offering. And then, I'm sure you guys are aware we have Prime Day coming up. It was postponed this year, but it's coming up in August. And it's one of the biggest events for our third-party sellers, not just our Amazon's retail, but it is huge. And if you are selling on the platform and you wanted to reach out to me, I can put you in touch with people internally that can get you great slots on our pages and things like that. And we've seen sellers that have like 300% daily sales growth during events like Prime Day, or the holiday season as well, whether it's in November or December when everyone's holiday shopping. It's actually a huge opportunity to grow your sales and deplete your inventory and restock and everything like that. It's just the fact that third-party sales have exceeded our retail sales. It shows how important and integral third-party businesses have become to Amazon's success. And I love it because it's a symbiotic relationship. Your success equals our success and vice versa. It's been a great partnership and it's only continuing to grow. So in my opinion, it's just the opportunities are endless with expanding, but starting to sell domestically and then expanding internationally, because most of our international marketplaces are mimicking what we're doing on .com. And so you'll have plenty of features that you can utilize to grow your sales and grow your brand and everything like that. So that leads me to mention that if you are a brand owner, we have plenty of measurements in place to help protect your brand not only domestically, but internationally as well. So if you're interested, you can reach out to me. I can put you in touch with our account managers that will help you trademark your brand globally, whether it be in Europe, the Middle East, South America, Australia, and Asia. There's just so much Amazon is doing to protect brand owners, to prevent counterfeit sellers or fraudulent sellers. We ban, I can't even tell you how many sellers we ban on every single day. We've invested billions of dollars to catch fraudulent sellers, and we're just trying to make it a much more healthy environment for our really true good to do sellers. And I don't know if you guys were aware, but we just recently decided to disclose every seller's name that sells on the marketplace, so that we're more transparent, and it's much easier to identify bad actors, bad sellers that are selling fraudulent products or counterfeit products. So we're trying to make it much more difficult for bad actors to kind of game the system, and with all of you in mind. So yeah, with that, that's really it. Now, I mean, I'm more than willing to take any questions you all have. So I'll let Cesar share his screen again.
Thank you, Nader. I think this is a great segue into the Q&A, because a lot of the questions that are coming in from the participants are related to how Amazon supports their sellers. And I know that you mentioned, product protection. We've received a few questions about this, and I'm gonna try to put them all together. And if you forget one, just let me know, and we can go back. But the first question is, does Amazon provide market assessment for each region that a business will want to sell into? The other question related to Amazon support is, if a company is selling its product on any of Amazon's European marketplaces, are they covered through Amazon for their GDPR requirements, or do they need to take additional steps to ensure compliance? So I think I'll start with those two questions. I think it's a nice segue from what you were just discussing.
So yeah, regarding being compliant internationally, Amazon has many third-party partners that they would kind of put you in touch with. And again, if you decided to reach out to me and I put you in touch with an account manager, you'd be walked through step by step on all compliance requirements for each country. So that way your product does pass customs and you are able to get your product into an FBA warehouse without your product being held up in customs. So yeah, we have a plethora of partners, and we have a roadmap that's just laid out really clearly, and we'll let you know what steps you need to take each step of the way. And so, yeah, you would not have to worry about figuring things out on your own. We have ample resources for you to kind of make sure you launch accordingly and appropriately. And the first question you mentioned, sorry, I missed the first one again.
The first question was related about market assessment.
Oh, market assessment. Yeah, so Amazon has many tools. And honestly, without even selling on Amazon, you can kind of assess it as well. You can go to any site. So if you go to .com, you type a product. If you go scroll to the bottom of the page, Amazon has its full ranking system where let's say the product you're looking at is, I don't know, an umbrella. It's raining out here right now, so that's why I thought of it. But you'll see that umbrella is number 32 in kind of utilities, outdoor utilities or something like that. And then you can click a link and it'll show you the whole landscape of that product category. And you can do the same thing for each out of country marketplace as well. So let's say you wanted to see, let's say you sell electronics and you sell those little pace meter things where it tracks how many footsteps you've taken. You can go to the UK site, scroll down to the bottom, and then see, okay, in terms of personal fitness devices, where does this rank? And you can kind of gain an idea of how popular that product is and how much demand it would have. And that's the resources you have without even selling on Amazon yet. You can do that right now as we speak. Once you start selling on Amazon, there's plenty of resources that you can utilize. There's analytics reports, plenty of things. You can see what the whole ecosystem looks like. and you will be able to decipher whether or not you want to launch your products in other countries. Like I said, if you enable FBA export, every month you will have a report that shows where all your sales went. And if you saw 10% of your sales went to the UK, that's a really good indication that your product's going to do well there. And then outside of that, I mean, there's just so many resources, even outside of the Amazon domain. There's a lot of consulting companies that have published information publicly, a lot of database agencies that have published all that information. There's just ample resources to kind of gauge the marketplaces that you'd be interested in reaching out to.
Got it. Thank you. Luis, I have a question for you that came up from one of our participants. It's regarding the Vendor Central program. Is it an invite-only program, or how does a business actually get access to the Vendor Central?
Yeah, it typically is, but it's for manufacturers and brand owners. But I'd be happy to take anybody that has a product that they're interested in working with us and find the right resource to get, to give them the right information.
Okay, and just for the audience, what we'll do after the webinar, we'll share Nader's and Luis' contact information, just in case anybody wants to reach out to them. I know there's a lot of questions that are coming from the audience. I don't think that we'll be able to get through all of them, but if you, as the audience, if you guys have any specific questions for our speakers, please do reach out. Next question, and actually I had some questions, but we've gotten a lot of questions from the audience, so I'm gonna skip those. I'd rather engage with the audience here, but what are the requirements for a company to sell to Amazon where Amazon is the seller of record?
So again, that is through our Vendor Central program. So they're going to be looking obviously for that brand that is in demand, that our customers are really looking for. So they have their own criteria for each one and each product that they're looking at. And again, I can help to connect whoever's interested in learning more about that and seeing if their products are something that Amazon would like to take an inventory position with.
Okay. The other question we have is about selling clothes through Amazon. And the question is, this is very more specific. How big is the clothing industry within Amazon in the US? What percentage of total sales? Are there any trends in terms of volume, increasing or decreasing? And what is the best way to actually sell clothes through Amazon? I know this is a question.
So I think obviously there's a lot of questions in there in terms of the market and all of that, which I can't really get into. However, clothing is a large part of what is on our consumer site. It's also something that's part of what we have in what's called Amazon Handmade, which is another part of Amazon where artisans or people that have small businesses where they have made those products themselves are welcome to market them, and think of it like an Etsy, if you will. So in that marketplace, that is, there's no cost for listing their products. It's a flat 15% is what our referral fee is for that. But it's a great way for them if they have a small business, they're selling, t-shirts or clothing that they've made or pottery or jewelry or whatever, for them to be able to sell that product across Amazon.
Got it. Thank you. This question, are you exporting industrial services? And I know that, a lot of our exporters here, particularly in Atlanta, as you may know, this is a region that is predominantly professional services. We have a lot of really engaged and proactive industries. So we do have a lot of service providers. So I think this is a very, very interesting question, but does Amazon provide any sort of, does your platform connect buyers and sellers for services?
So yeah, it does actually. On Amazon Business, typically it's a service that's connected to a product. So for example, if a business was interested in having their TVs installed, maybe wall mounted, so we would sell the service that would go along with that. there's a whole website that's dedicated to that. If you go to service.amazon.com, you can see what is allowed and what the process is to be able to do that. I would tell you that right now with COVID, it's a little bit tricky in that we're not able to schedule anyone into a business or into a home at this point. So I think, if you just wanted to check back and keep your eye on that site, they'll have updates and they'll be able to basically provide the information as to when that would start up again.
Got it. Thank you. In terms of market expansion, Nader, I know that you mentioned Singapore, Turkey, Middle East, Africa. I did see in the map that you also have Brazil in there. But are there any thoughts in expanding in South Africa or the continent of Africa?
In South Africa?
Yeah.
To the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware. But with how we've been expanding, we always kind of check out the landscape and see if it's feasible, both for our sellers and for Amazon. So I wouldn't say that it's not going to be part of our future. As of right now, I don't have any intel on whether or not that is within our kind of outlook at the moment.
Got it. Let's see. Let's kind of keep on going through these questions. This is kind of, I think it's back to your original presentation, Nader, but in more details. Somebody has their own products that they sell, and they want to start selling those products into these markets that you discussed, right? So what should they do, right? Like, what are the steps for them to actually place their product on the Amazon platform?
Yeah, and is this a seller that, let's say, is already selling on .com, or they just want to start selling? They're new to the whole Amazon ecosystem?
I think they're new to the ecosystem.
Okay, so I mean, the first thing would be to go to sell.amazon.com. And from there, you can navigate basically through the domestic site. That's where I would recommend you launch first. Once you go there, basically, you'll need to provide things like your driver's license or some type of passport or ID, and then business documentation, things like that. It's a pretty streamlined process and fairly simple to start selling. And then there's two types of sellers. There's one is a professional account and one's an individual account. Now, professional is like it's a monthly recurring fee. I can't recall the exact amount. It's between $40 and $50 a month. And the individual, you pay basically on every item sold. So you pay a fraction of an item sold. So if you're a legitimate business, odds are you're going to sell more than 40 units a month. So it'd be wise to set up with a professional account. And then once you've done that, if you're selling a product if you're reselling a product, it's very easy. You type in your product name, Amazon will already have it, and you say, okay, yep, that's my product, and your listing will be up and running. If you want to fulfill on your own, it'll become live in an instant. And if you want Amazon to fulfill the order, once your shipment to the FBA warehouse lands, that's when the listing will go live and your business will be up and running. Now, if you are a brand owner and you have your own unique product, that's when you will kind of upload a file that has your product's description, things like dimension, product type, weight, things like that. You upload all those kind of unique traits, and then Amazon will generate the page for you, the listing page, and you'll be up and running that way as well. That's the first step. And then while you're doing that, it's just wise to kind of read up a lot. We have a lot of resources, and kind of educate yourself on the different tools that you can use, different ways to kind of get your listing in front of customers, ways to find out how to get into the buy box. I don't know if you guys shop on Amazon or not, but a lot of times if you search a product, it'll say sold by 5 different sellers, but there's one seller where you can just click a button and it'll purchase from them. That seller was able to purchase that slot. And so you'll learn ways to kind of beat other sellers into getting the customer's purchase. Obviously, the best way is to have the best price, but there's different ways to kind of showcase your items. That would be the first step for me. And then once you've kind of become comfortable with that, the next thing would be to enable that FBA export feature. And if you're using FBA, or enable the MF merchant fulfilled feature if you're fulfilling on your own. Enable either one of those features. That'll get you insight into how your product is selling in the other global marketplaces. And once you get an idea of, okay, let's say you say, oh wow, Singapore is really purchasing. I'm seeing a lot of orders coming from Singapore. That's probably the best place to expand next. And from there, again, you would go to sell.amazon.com, and there's a little portion at the top that says, I believe it says like expand globally. And you navigate your way, and you'll on the map, you'll click on Singapore, and it'll have like a step-by-step kind of navigation on how to expand. And again, if any of you are interested, just reach out to me personally. I can get you in touch with the right contacts for whichever marketplaces you want to expand to. But really, it's starting on sell.amazon and then gradually making your way. And I would always recommend to start domestically first. So that's kind of the order of operation I would go through.
Great, thank you. I think this has been really helpful. There are a lot more questions that have come in. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to filter those questions to you guys, and then we'll send the answers back to the audience. I think for purpose of timing, I want to try to go ahead and start closing out the webinar and this conversation. Of course, we could have spent another hour or so speaking here, because as you can see, the audience is very engaged. I think everyone is very interested in this topic, especially considering the current situation with COVID-19 and the shelters in place and all these other orders, which actually make people, we have to stay at home. So e-commerce has become the way of sort of, it's become part of our everyday life, which of course is great for business, it's great for Amazon, but it's also great for our small businesses. And it's the reason why we try to put these resources in front of them, because we do want them to take advantage of resources such as what Amazon offers as they think about a global expansion. And I know that even though this particular conversation was more related to international trade, there will be opportunities to talk about more of the domestic market, which of course, here in the US, we benefit from having a great market, a very strong market. There's a lot of demand for the product. So with that being said, I do want to close this webinar. I do want to give you, Nader and Luis, a big thank you for joining us again and for all of your support. And I do look forward to continue working with you. I can tell you that from the audience engagements and the questions, you will probably be receiving a lot of questions from our small businesses here in Atlanta. Everybody seems very excited about this opportunity. To the audience, thank you again for joining us. Please do stay tuned for future programming. Right after the webinar, you will receive a survey. We do take your feedback very serious, and this is actually how we are able to generate and create additional resources for you. So please do take a few minutes of your afternoon to complete the survey, and then be on the lookout for an email from us with the handouts. Luis and Nader have shared some really interesting information that I will be sharing with you later on today or tomorrow, and then we'll also share the recording of the webinar. So with that being said, thank you everybody. Have a great afternoon, and we'll see you soon. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Bye.